The coach is a vital component for athletes, or you can change that for my family, for my business, who succeed and attain their goals. A great coach will serve many roles: technical supporter, motivator, leader, psychologist, and maybe most importantly, a role model. Hello, my friend, and welcome to this Friday episode of A Call to Leadership. I'm so glad you're here. Every Friday, we uncover one tool for your leadership tool belt. It's just the two of us, no co-host, no expert guests. Those are on different days, Mondays and Wednesdays, but Fridays is just the two of us. And this new series is all about one critical aspect of leadership, the team. Of course, leadership doesn't exist without people. And so as we amass a group to join us in a worthy cause, that's called a team. But teams don't always work. Teams fail. Teams have dysfunction. Teams train wreck the possibility for success. On the other side of it, effective teams, exceptional teams, help us get to a place that is far greater, far better than we ever thought possible. They can help us overcome any obstacle, reach any goal, achieve any milestone with the right team, with the right leadership. And so the obvious question is, how do I become that leader? And how do I create that team and build that team? Because it's not easy. As soon as you hear that, you might think, man, I don't have every aspect of my team that's necessary. I don't know what it takes sometimes to be the kind of leader who can instill the team strength to overcome those obstacles. Sometimes I've got blind spots, and sometimes my team is truly dysfunctioning. Maybe not always. Maybe there's pockets. Maybe there's times where it's inconsistent, our performance, our ability, our goals. But that's not the end of the story. In fact, your ability to lead your team hinges on what kind of a leader you are. And so we're going to go through on this series what kind of leaders lead teams and what happens to them. We're going to talk about different areas that teams fail in and how to overcome those obstacles with the power of this team you create. So I want to start with a story. When I was a fresh new guy looking for work, one of the first places I landed on was a place called Chuck E. Cheese's. At the time, it was actually called Showbiz Pizza Place. And it's a kid's place where people took their children to eat pizza, play games, and there was an electronic band. It was like a mechanical band. It's called Rockefeller Explosion. Anyway, so I got the job. I was 16 years old. And my very first manager was the kind of manager, and I wonder if you've ever had this kind of manager or you've been this kind of manager, where everything was about the mistakes you made. This person focused on pointing out every single error rather than the wins, telling you everything and anything that was wrong with your performance. The kind of manager who, as soon as they walked up to you, your mind said, here we go again. I had that manager. I worked in the kitchen initially, and every night I would have to clean everything spotless. And then if I was also working on the floor, I would have to clean it spotless. And this manager would come with the finger and run it all the way down every crevice, every corner, until this manager found one speck of dust and said, "You're not finished yet. You've got to get this speck of dust." Now, you say, Nate, if you've ever been in the military, you know that's the way it is. I get it. But this manager was not giving me any grace in terms of, hey, I see your performance. I see what you've done right. It was always looking for what I did wrong. This is what we call management by exception. Management by exception is the kind of manager that can only focus on what's wrong with this picture, can only focus on the problems, and can never give you credit for your wins. And this kind of manager creates a very toxic environment, creates an environment that is negative, that's backbiting, that creates an environment that people they're deflated, they don't feel like they can ever measure up, and it creates high turnover, dissatisfaction, and a work environment where people are constantly concerned whether or not they will have a job tomorrow. Now, you think, well, shouldn't people have some level of fear? No, not really. I don't think your employee should be afraid of being fired because of the mistakes that you are pointing out, rather than showing them how to achieve their goals. When you focus only on the things that go wrong, you can never hope to help elevate people where things can go right. And so this is the kind of manager who, I've seen it in leadership. I've seen it I've seen it even in my own life in some ways, where I've had an employee before where I just wrote down every single thing that I saw that they did wrong in their job. And I had this huge notepad of everything that I saw wrong. And I was becoming this kind of a manager. And I had to stop myself and say, Nate, what about all of the things that this person is doing right? How can we turn this corner? Now, is it possible that in some ways that this person's not a fit because there's not competence level? Yes. Is it possible that someone's not a fit for a position because their character doesn't fit the value systems of the organization? Yes. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who only focuses on everything that goes wrong. And that's the kind of person who you don't want to be in a management leadership position, because they're going to create dysfunctional teams. Now, what if you're the other side of it? What if you are what we call laissez-faire? Laissez-faire. It means just letting things go, right? A passive leader. What if you work with somebody who's everything is delayed? They avoid the issues. They are what we call an absentee leader. They don't give support. They don't give direction, which means that people can't really identify goals. It's like disoriented the entire organization. That creates a different kind of issue. That creates a dissatisfied, and it creates underperforming teams. So this is the kind of person who just throws their arms up and says, well, we'll just let it be what it is. See what happens, right? This is a person who is checked out. And you may have had this kind of manager. You might have been this kind of manager in your organization. This is also the kind of manager who is not going to function with high-performing, high-value teams. It's just not going to happen. And this isn't just in a business environment. This could be in a home environment. Look at it the other side of it. In your family, with your kids, are you the kind of parent that is a management by exception, that you're focusing on everything your kid does wrong? This is, and it tends to happen more often than not with teenagers, because we start to check the boxes of everything that our teenager says is wrong or does is wrong, and we give them no support and no opportunity to identify and exemplify their wins or give them a pathway to success. It's so negative. It's so defeating and deflating. And I know I've done it, and I've had to catch myself. And my spouse has said, hey, let's focus on some of the things that we can exemplify. And it takes sometimes just stopping and affirming and encouraging our kids, our spouse, our loved ones. On the other side, in our own families, we can just throw our arms up and say, oh, I'm not going to have another argument, or I just can't handle this, or I'm out of energy. I can't do this anymore. This type of leadership in the home also is going to create an environment where if you avoid issues, you're going to have problems as well. And this is all, I'm speaking to myself. I've done all this. It wasn't until I started considering a third type of leadership. And when I say management, there's an overlap in leadership and management. In fact, I'm going to do a whole episode on the difference between leadership and management and where they overlap. But there's a third kind of leader, and there's many of them, but I'm going to just point out one other one as we launch our series. And you say, Nate, why is it so important for you to talk about leadership? I thought we were talking about teams, because everything hinges on leadership. All of our direction hinges on leadership. That doesn't mean that the leader is going to solely make things happen, but the leader is essential to inspire a group vision, to enlist others to accept and reach the group mission. I mean, as a leader, it is your responsibility to shepherd those group values, to help them to manifest and to take hold in a culture that is vibrant and healthy. And it's our role to bring each individual and assess their potential to work in a team, their capacity to contribute, to hone and foster that, to create and build the expectations upon that vision, that mission, and those values with the breath of hope that kindles, it lights a fire so that we can achieve the highest levels of both our motivation and our performance. That is the importance of a leader. That's why a leader is so important. I mean, these are just a few of the reasons. So leaders are essential. You're essential. And the way I approach my leadership in these environments will make or break the possibility for our team to function wholly, to perform well, to row in the same direction, to thrive. It's up to me. It's up to you. No one else is going to be able to do this. You've got to take the lead. And when you take the lead, you'll be able to start moving in a direction that builds your team. So we're going to look at different areas of team leadership in this series. But I want to start right here. It's a short episode. I want to start right here with identifying which kind of leader you are. You say, well, I don't fit in any one of these three. And oftentimes we don't. Sometimes we are the managed by exception. Sometimes we're the passive or the laissez-faire. Sometimes we're the third, what I would call a transformational team leader. But we need to move the needle into the quadrant of the transformational team leader. We need to get away from passive leadership. We need to get away from managed by exception or only pointing out flaws and begin to work into an atmosphere where we can create an environment people feel that they have the most opportunity to work in a safe space. And I don't mean safe as in, oh, you have to baby them. No, I mean in a place where they're not afraid and expending energy out of fear to please a leader or to maintain their position just to keep their job for another day. No, we don't want to do that. We want them to expend 100% energy on performance and reaching the mutually accepted goals of the organizations, that we have the outcome and the results that matter. Because at the end of the day, results are what matter. And so if we're having our team individually or as a team work in a way that they can't focus, that they're distracted and disoriented by our fog, if you will, of leadership, then it's not going to work. And think of this like, just like you're the coach of a sporting team. You know, a coach in a sporting team is going to get his team to play together in complete harmony, to work at their very best. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about coaches. In fact, I love how teamusa.org puts it. It says this: the coach is a vital component for athletes, or you can change that for my family, for my business, who succeed and attain their goals. A great coach will serve many roles: technical supporter, motivator, leader, psychologist, and maybe most importantly, a role model. You know, you think about it, like my role as a leader, as a coach, if you will, is to be not only a supporter, a motivator, someone who helps people achieve their goals, but a role model. You know, do I stand in the gap? Am I a reflection of the mastery that I desire people to achieve? Look inside. And if the answer is no, and for most of us, with humility, we would say there's room to grow. That's what we'll be doing. That's what we'll be focusing on this series: how to master the role of leadership as we build not only effective teams, but superstar teams. So I can't wait to embark on this journey with you. Take some time this week. Think about those 3 different positions as a leader. And I know the third quadrant will be where we want to land. I can't wait for you to join me on this series as we unroll the epic fails and successes of a team. I'm Dr. Nate Sala. This is A Call to Leadership. Well, my friend, thank you for joining me on this episode of A Call to Leadership. If you've been listening, you've probably heard me talk about our accounting and advisory business. And this show was actually born out of that business, those relationships. I found that entrepreneurs and professionals were missing aspects of their leadership that fed into their bottom line and helped their businesses be successful. If you're in that place where you feel, oh my goodness, my tax person or my accountant, I can't find them, or maybe the service wasn't up to my expectations, do not despair. I'll leave how you can find us in the show notes.